We're back with Attorney Salvador. Attorney, what do you think about the testimony of Congressman Toby Tiangco the other day? Tell us
My thoughts are following. Number one, I think we owe it to the public at the very least, and the senator judges, that
Yes.
they have to hear it, even if they don't want to hear it.
Yes.
The circumstances surrounding the signing
Yes.
and the verification of the impeachment.
He brought
complaint.
us through what
Yes.
happened that day.
It's
right?
very important because at the end of the day, history will read this, okay, and will have to go back to what really happened on that fateful day.
Yes.
And second, I think what's very important also is that based on his testimony would be the goings on inside Congress or the House of Representatives on how allotments are made, how funds are used for public purposes, and what are hard, soft projects and hard projects. These are very important. In fact, for me, I'm not really so familiar about that. It was a learning process for me. And I think we owe that to our constituency. They owe that to their constituency. That was a way to educate also our mga kababayan and our fellow men.
Yes.
And I think the third one would be maybe the motivation, as he said, why it was so swift, why it was so fast, and the reasons behind that. I think those, in a gist, would be the reasons why he had to testify.
Now, a member of the prosecution was engaging him in an argument because one of them said, "But you got your PDAF,"
Okay.
which means at the end of the day, there was really nothing to complain about because the PDAF was released to you. But we were made to believe by Congressman Tiangco that he got it, yes, but it was too late already, and that has made all the difference. Explain,
To my
tell
mind,
us
okay.
what is the importance of getting a PDAF
On time.
on time?
Okay, I think that was explained.
Yes.
That was explained by Congressman Tiangco himself
Yes,
while on the
yes.
witness stand. He said, you know, there's a big difference. Because if I was able to get it in May, as compared when I received it in August,
Yes.
and there are a lot of people waiting for those funds, like scholars. How can I make commitments on scholarships, he said.
Yes.
And what will I disburse?
Yes.
What will I share if I don't have it? How about projects? What commitments could I enter into without those projects? So time is of the essence,
Yes.
most especially at the start of a school year. I think that's what he was trying to tell us.
Okay. Let's go back to the impeachment court in essence. It has been said that the impeachment court is sui generis.
Yes.
And its decision is not subject of review.
Okay.
Do you agree with this vis-a-vis the doctrine of checks and balances?
Well,
Explain to us.
being a professor of law,
Yes.
that's a reality that we have to face. That is in the Constitution, the checks and balances. That's why
Yes.
you have the three branches of government, and each branch of government would have to check the other. But of course, you cannot consolidate all of the powers in one branch of government. Otherwise, you don't want the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary in one agency of the government. You don't want that. And that was the reason why the Constitution had it three branches of government, so that they could help each other, help in rendering service to the public. And if there are excesses on a particular agency of the government, one agency of the government can call the attention of the other. Please do not do this. We'll have to stop at this point, and let's work together. That's how I see it.
Now, okay. On the nature of the proceedings, since it is sui generis, do you agree that specific rules be implemented and not just make the rules of court suppletorily apply?
Well, you know, the difficulty, although it's sui generis, it's a case of its own. But it has always been that way. I think even in the President era impeachment, they enacted and passed and published the impeachment rules. But these are mostly around 10 pages. The basic proceedings in an impeachment court, but the matters of objections, the matters of filings, the matters of evidence are not there. Because if you look at the rules of court is a very thick book. It's a very thick book. You cannot incorporate in the impeachment rules everything, or only get those portions which you feel would be necessary.
Yeah.
Each of those provisions could be necessary or useful at some point in time. That is why in every law, for that matter, on this impeachment rule, there is that provision that the rules of court will have supplementary application. In our language, ibig po sabihin kung may konting pagkukulang ang batas, pwede pong punuan. Okay, to cover yung kapunuan ang pagkukulang with the rules of court. That's how we do it.
Atty. Salvador, who will you be calling to the witness stand on Monday?
To be honest with you, I'm not at liberty to disclose.
Okay, I understand.
But we have a number of witnesses
Yes.
in line. We have, I think, presented so far this afternoon plus 3 or 4 more. I think, yes, I think 3 more. So we have around so far 8 witnesses so far presented. So I think in the coming days, the presentation will be much awaited by our fellow men, and to see what we have to say in terms of the defense of the Chief Justice. But let me just summarize for you the things to which I feel we were able to establish in the first 4 days. We were able to show that the properties were not 45. And I think the senator judges are now convinced that it's not 45. In fact, based on their own computation yesterday, they said when you started it was 45, and thereafter, when you were asked on the 2nd or 3rd week of the impeachment proceedings, you said it was around 24. And yesterday they were engaged by the senator judges to make a computation, less the parking lot of 3, less that of the Mr. Vicente's property, less 7 titles, which was a property inherited by Mrs. Corona, no? And plus less the Ayala Heights property, less the La Vista property, plus I think 3 more parking lots, and that leaves you with around, I think, 11 or 10, playing around 9 to 11, and we just have to prove around, to my mind, 3 or 4, which is these our properties. Because to our mind, we are to prove 5.
Yes.
And of these 5, there's the Saviorville property that inherited, which has now 2 titles. It is just one property. If you would notice during my presentation of the assessed values, there were 2 titles. So this is what we're trying to do, and I think to that extent we have reasonable advances. Now, looking at the as you've asked previously, the funds of the Chief Justice, if there's one thing that we could say, is that his income is not limited to 5 million. There are other sources of income, and I'm just requesting our fellow men to just be ready and wait. At the end of the day, it is not we from the defense who will tell you what the verdict would be. It will not be the prosecution who will tell you what the verdict would be. Of course, if you will ask us, we're convinced in our case. If you ask the prosecution, they will be convinced. But at the end of the day, it will be the Senate, the senator judges who will decide. And let's give them that ample time and opportunity to really understand, to digest the issues, the evidence, and in God's right time, hopefully we will see the verdict. It could be conviction, which sadly, of course, we will feel very, very sad, but it's a fact that maybe at the end of the day we have to face. Or if it's an acquittal, we'll be very happy. But at the end, whether you look at it as a conviction or an acquittal, if we complete the process, who benefits? It's the Filipino people. Because we are able to complete the process mandated by the Constitution. We did not say stop it here. We did not say we don't want this process. We say we want the process, and let's complete the process, and we will win with completing the process.
Briefly, Atty. Salvador, last night over dinner with the Chief Justice, we asked him if he was going to appear in the Senate Impeachment Court.
Yes.
To which he answered right away, that depends now on my lawyers.
Yes.
What can you, do we expect the Chief Justice to appear?
Remember, we are 12 in the team, okay? A group of lawyers, 12 of us, and this is a continuing study, evaluation, and assessment of where we stand, whether or not there's a need to present the Chief Justice, okay, in the witness stand.
Yes.
I cannot tell you my thoughts, meaning those are my personal thoughts. It's immaterial. What is important is for us to know that we work as a team, and the team will have to decide on this. And I have to be perfectly honest with you that the team has not yet decided on this. We continually evaluate, assess, and see. If there is a need, we're not closing the door. Personally, I think we're not closing the door. But if there is a necessity, maybe, just maybe. So let's wait.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Yes, sir.
Atty. Salvador, for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us once again with the Defense Chronicles. This is Leslie Bocobo.